When the controller detects that something is wrong, either it's a motor, maybe it's voltage, we're going to cover some of those things, it's going to give us an error code to point us in the right direction for our troubleshooting. Now, one thing to know about this controller as we look at it here, on the inside of our cutout, we're going to have a couple of different LEDs. And this is really where the magic's going to happen. We have a green LED, we have a red LED. And you'll notice that if I operate those in just a normal capacity, they blink together. This would be an expected behavior when we are operating the system. But if I were to pull, let's say, one of our motor wires, then I should be able to force the controller to produce an error. And I want to pay special attention to the exact sequence you are going to see. So I'll operate it again, and we'll notice that the slide doesn't want to run. This is what it's designed to do. But most importantly, we'll see here that I do have an error on the inside. You're going to see one green blink. This is signifying that we do have an error. And in this case, because I pulled the wire from the left motor, you're going to see one red blink. You'll see the lights then blink together, and this is going to signify that all of the errors have been reported, which is another really important aspect to understand about this. More than one error can be in a sequence. When we do have an error like we see here, the very best first step is to bring out your phone camera or whatever the case might be, and we are going to scan this QR code. Now, this is a great resource. This is going to link you to the troubleshooting manual, and inside of it, we are going to see a matrix that will allow us to try different troubleshooting avenues. It's going to give some of the normal causes, some of the recommended solutions, and it's all going to be right there for you. So should you have an error code, regardless of what it is, this is going to be your very best first step. But what is the 1-1 error? Well, we know that it's for the left motor. We know that there are multiple things that can happen in a sequence. And if you ever encounter one of these, we're going to need to figure out exactly what that's from. Now, I'm going to plug it in here, and I want to show you a little bit of a trick. If you do remediate an error, we can see it didn't go away by me just plugging it in. I can rock the switch, and there we will see we no longer have any sort of blinking lights. This is a cool thing for you to know, but most importantly, if I run the slide, this is going to show us that we are now back to normal operation. So if you do have an error code, really one of the best things for us to understand is we have a controller. We have the wires that come out of it. These are going to be supplied by your OEM. We're going to call this the harness. And then you have a motor that it is linking to. So I recommend that if you do have an error code and maybe we don't have any sort of loose connections, maybe we don't have anything like that, the very first thing we need to do is just verify that the controller is getting what it needs in order to do its job. Now, the very best first thing we are going to do is to probe for power. You'll see on your controller we have a power and a ground signal going right into them. And we need to verify that the voltage is healthy. And to do this, I recommend that we disconnect from any external power source. We don't want solar panel, we don't want generator, we don't want anything that could possibly inflate the battery voltage and mask an unhealthy battery. So we first are going to probe into power. Next, we are going to have a partner, or maybe you can operate your slide remotely. We are going to then operate it. And what's happening when we do this, the controller is now going to output power to either one of our motors. So we first probed to make sure that we had good power in. We next need to probe to make sure that we have good power out. And I recommend that you hyper focus in on whichever side is producing that error. So if I have good power in, and I have good power out, what's that mean about our controller? What do you think? Yeah, the controller is totally doing its job. We only need to examine one of the other components, and that would be our wire, that would be our motor. And the best way to do this is to actually go right up to the motor and just validate that the signal coming from the controller is going through this harness and getting all the way there. So If you probe into a Wago, which is a type of lever nut, you will notice that we either have power or we don't. And if we do, then that means this wire is doing its job. And that means that the harness itself is healthy. But what do you think? What if we have power going all the way to the motor is not operating? Yeah. We have a bad motor. We want to go ahead and replace that. This is sort of just a high-level overview of how we can try and remediate different motor error codes, be it the left, be it the right, or in some cases, maybe even both.